What up, y'all? It's the Chinist. Today is June 20th, Wednesday, New Comic Book Day. I have my haul here of 29 with 25 different titles. I have read through this stack, great stack this week. So starting off on the DC side, we have Justice League. So I was able to pick up both cover A and cover B. Cover B done by Jim Lee. Man, Jim Lee is my all-time favorite comic book artist ever. So yeah, Martian Manhunter is also one of my favorites on the DC side. Man, he's just so powerful and strong, man. I just love that guy. So yeah, Justice League, since the reboot, restarting at #1, man, this is the way that Justice League, should have been at the very beginning of Rebirth, in my opinion. Great stuff. The artwork, in my opinion, I would actually give this like a 4.25 out of 5. Man, I love this artwork. So yeah, man, great stuff. Getting back into the Celestial Wall, they're still trying to deal with the energy that's let out. Killer Croc was in this one, pretty good stuff. He's kind of, I guess, evolved due to the Source Wall energy that's been let out, the Dark Source Wall energy. Man, great stuff. Great dialogue. They kind of reached out to John, who is a Green Lantern, so they really don't have a Green Lantern yet, and I'm not really following the Green Lantern side right now, but Sinestro kind of, I guess, changed again. He got into the magenta, or the what was this? It's not purple. I forgot what color they call that one, but yeah, not really know what's going on the color spectrum currently. So a little bit of a surprise to me, and John may have gone the other way. But yeah, man, very good stuff. I love how they made Lex Luthor evil, once again. I wasn't really keen on him being a good guy, for a while. But yeah, Justice League, good stuff, y'all. Check it out. Alright, next up, Man of Steel. So yeah, this is Bendis writing Superman all over again. So, number 4 of 6. So this one deals again with the Rogol-Zar. This entire issue was like straight up fight with Rogol-Zar and Supergirl and Superman. Great stuff, dude. So Rogol-Zar is just super strong. This axe, something's going on with that. This is really the source of his power. Something with that and some sort of relevance with the sun, the yellow sun. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. A little bit more background as far as like why Rogol-Zar is like after all the Kryptonians. A little bit more dialogue, with Superman. So yeah, pretty good stuff. Really enjoy this one. The very end, a little bit of a twist. Won't give it away, but yeah, love this one. So you also got a little bit of a throwback. Oh, also, man, this actually had some artwork by 2 different people. I think it was just this one page that was actually by, yeah. So these 2 pages, this one page here, and this one page here was actually done by Jason Fabok. Man, great stuff, dude. That artist is, man, very Jim Lee-esque, in my opinion, compared to this other artist, which I'm not really a fan of, to tell you the truth. But yeah, this kind of picked up a little bit of a DC Nation. We got a little preview of what this fight was right here. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. The Man of Steel. Alright, so one more Batman Prelude to the Wedding. I think this is the very last prelude that we have right before the wedding, which is actually the very next issue, Batman number 50. Yeah, number 50. So yeah, Red Hood. This one really dealt again with Jason Todd kind of overseeing the bachelorette party of Catwoman. So, they're kind of having fun, and, Batman, somewhat paid Jason Todd to, just give a little bit of oversight, just make sure that they don't get into any sort of danger along the way, that the fun night that she's having. So yeah, pretty cool stuff, not too much tied to the wedding itself, pretty cool, adventure on the side, but not too much tied to the wedding, to tell you the truth. So you could skip this one, in my opinion. Alright, so next up we have Batman. So this one I think concludes the Best Man series here. This one, in my opinion, it was kind of like a little standalone prelude, all over again between the Joker and Catwoman. So pretty cool stuff. So they get in a fight to look. They are a little bit immobilized. I won't show you the actual battle, But, so they're immobilized here on the ground, and their banter back and forth is just great, in my opinion. They kind of like keep on slipping in and out of consciousness, and time keeps on, slipping forward. And these little conversations they have throughout this entire issue, and this entire issue is really just them kind of talking back and forth. Man, I loved it, man. Great stuff. So yeah, really looking forward to the wedding that's happening here in this next issue, number 50. I have like 3 or 4 copies of the Art Germ cover B that was on this number 49 coming in through Midtown. Okay, next up, Damage. So again, one of the new Age of Heroes that they kind of spawned out of the Dark Knight. Pretty cool stuff. I've enjoyed most of them. I think Silencer is really the only one that I'm not going to be picking on an ongoing basis, but other than that, man, I've loved all the other heroes. So yeah, Damage kind of going back, Damage and Weapon H, they're both very, very similar in my opinion, and again, I've kind of complained that they come out on the exact same week. So they are very similar characters that, man, just kind of reading both of them in the same day, I don't know, man, I just don't really enjoy that just because they're so similar. But very cool stuff. I think this one issue, if anything, really highlights Poison Ivy. So, Poison Ivy is getting, they start talking about all the colors. Swamp Thing is in here as well, who represents the green, but kind of explains that she's always being tempted by the green. And I guess one day they're trying to change Poison Ivy into like a soldier, for the plant world against the humans. So they kind of like set this up for like a future Poison Ivy storyline, which I thought was pretty cool. Was not expecting that, but yeah, pretty cool stuff. A little guest appearance by the Swamp Thing. Alright, so last from DC, actually from Vertigo, which owned by DC, Deathbed. So I think there's only one more. Yeah, this is number 5 of 6, a little mini-series of Luna. This adventurer who has, he's at the end of his little adventure days. His age is, he's kind of up there now at this point in time. Kind of reminiscing about what the past was to him. This last issue, we had some jellyfish that kind of, when he got stung, he kind of brought back a lot of memories and kind of like opened a portal of who he really is. So, this one issue really makes him reminisce of like who he was, his parents, his upbringing, what made him be who he is today. Pretty cool stuff. Overall, I've enjoyed the series. I think I would have enjoyed a little bit more in trade, but pretty good action and comedy in here, nonetheless. So yeah, Deathbed. Okay, moving on to Marvel, we have X-Men Gold. This is number 30. This is actually the wedding that was supposed to be the wedding of Kitty Pryde and Colossus. You see their hands here. So this is going to be a spoiler. Just in order to even talk about this this one issue, it's spoiler. So along with this, I'll talk about this one here a little bit, and I'll show you the J. Scott Campbell spoiler here. But along the way, they've been doing a lot of flashback between the old times and here we are today, and why they their relationships, the bumpy roads they've had, the very start of it, why they were together, why they kind of broke up along the way. And this one really, was huge twist in here. I was not expecting this whatsoever, but at the end of the day, really due to Ileana, who has like a heart-to-heart discussion with Kitty Pryde. Through that discussion, she kind of tells her like, I just don't really feel it. Like something's kind of wrong here. If y'all were going to get together, it would have happened like a long time ago. So, in my opinion, for some reason y'all should not be together. That kind of like, makes Kitty kind of think about it, to where at the end of the day, the wedding is called off. Complete twist. So what happens is, I'll show you the cover by J. Scott Campbell. So they polybag this one here, so they wouldn't give it away. But what actually happens is, Rogue and Gambit, they just had a little mini-series that apparently, I did not read it, but just watching other YouTubers, they were kind of stating like, man, they're like really lovebirds now at this point in time. There's like a really deep relationship between these two characters at this point in time. So they kind of jumped from that mini-series right into here to where they actually got married. So I'm going to put this one into my PC and stick this one to spec box. So yeah, just a clarification there. I had a couple comments about that. So when I say my spec box is short for speculation, which is my for sale box. My PC, just acronym, short for personal collection. So yeah. Okay, next up from Marvel, we have Tony Stark Iron Man. So actually I was able to pick up, oh, I forgot about this one. I was able to pick up one of the incentive variants that came out on this one. This one is by Addy Granoff. So this one is actually going for, this one listed at Midtown for $30. Man, a little surprised at that price. There are other incentives. Unfortunately, my one store, I think they actually got, so this one had like, I don't know, like 20 covers. One of my LCS actually picked up like 5 of each of the covers. Man, they picked up tons of covers, and I think they only got one incentive. So I don't even know like how many they needed for like all those other incentives that I saw. But very happy to pick this one up. Again, both my LCS I go to, they actually only charge cover price for any incentive they get. So man, always happy to support those two LCS every week. So yeah, this was a pretty decent Tony Stark Iron Man, start in my opinion. I think it could have been a little bit better, a little bit more action in my opinion, a little bit more character development. But a pretty good storyline nonetheless. So Dan Slott picked this one up, just coming off, from the hot, Amazing Spider-Man run that he's done. I forgot how many issues he did, but he was there for like forever doing that one title. A little guest appearance by Fin Fang Foom. Love this character, and he actually started this one. A little spoiler in the suit, man. So I grew up with Voltron, grew up like Robotech, all the Japanese like manga, all the Robo that they ever had out there, man. I watched it all. So due to Fin Fang Foom, man, Tony Stark created this little Fin Fang Foom Buster. And I thought it was pretty cool, man. So like straight up like Japanese anime that I love, dude. So yeah, this suit is dispatched here pretty quickly, but man, probably my most favorite Iron Man suit to date now all of a sudden. So yeah, pretty cool read, but not enough to get me to collect this one as an ongoing. Iron Man's never been one of my favorites, more of a Avengers, cast member, just like the movies, for me. Alright, next up, Champions. So yeah, title that I really love, both Champions and Teen Titans. This one issue here was pretty good skirmish between Alpha Flight and the Champions here. I think in an effort to see who is actually going to battle the, I think his name was the Master, who was kind of messing around with the polar ice caps. So yeah, pretty cool fight, and you also got to see a little bit more action with, let me find her. So you have, there she is right here. Her name is Snowbird. She had her first appearance in issue number 19, and then in issue number 20, it was her first full appearance where she actually became Snowbird. So yeah, so next week, the reprint of number 19 and 20, so this is 21, yeah. So the reprint, the second print of issue number 19 and 20 actually comes out next week. So I highly suggest for y'all to go pick it up. Again, it's her first cameo and her first appearance of Snowbird. So yeah, again, pretty cool fight. Champions is really high up there on my list. Alright, next up from Marvel, we have Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows. So yeah, a title that I love just because of the family dynamic they kind of throw into the Spider-Man title here. Annie, the younger daughter, is really my, my interest here. Just how she's learning how to use her powers, how she's becoming a superhero. I just always enjoy that storyline. Got a little cool guest cameo from Logan. Of course, this is like another universe. I don't know if they actually, tell you like which Earth this is or which universe this was, but like the 90s X-Men are still around here in this universe. So yeah, always pretty cool whenever they run into them here. But yeah, love the Spider-Man type of the different realms here they kind of doing with Spider-Man. But yeah, Spider-Man Renew Your Vows. Okay, next up, Weapon H. So, again, like Damage and some of these other new characters, it's really about the character development in my opinion. So, really gimmicky that he's, part Hulk and part Wolverine. But beyond that, to really carry his own ongoing title, he has to have good character development, when he's a human. This one was pretty good because they actually not introduce, but show a little bit more of his wife. So you get a little bit more of the family, dynamics of what happened in the past. They clearly still love each other, even though they separated. He's been kind of on the run here for a while in an effort to really protect her. So pretty cool to see a little bit more background of, what is his name? Clay, I believe is his name, who is Weapon H. But yeah, pretty cool fights, pretty cool action. Love this title. Alright, next up from Marvel again, we have the Avengers. So this is number 3 of the reboot, and number 2, you actually found out that Loki was the evil, mastermind behind these new celestial attacks. This is pretty cool because it actually ties back that, what was that issue called? The Marvel Legacy, where you had the Avengers 1 million going after that, what they thought was the Celestial that went mad. I guess you kind of, find out that he wasn't mad. There's like another storyline to it, but he was taken down. Loki actually resurrected that Celestial who's on his side now. And again, man, great storyline, that big epic feel, that the Justice League and the Avengers should always have, in my opinion. Great artwork to go along with it, as well. So yeah, the Avengers. Alright, so Amazing Spider-Man number 801. This actually concludes the Dan Slott run in its entirety. This one issue here, I'm always interested in how they kind of tie up, either a title or like, a run from a writer. They did a pretty good job, or he did a pretty good job here in my opinion. So you kind of start out with a little, reminiscing of Uncle Ben, what actually sparked Spider-Man to be, originally. Why he actually started to save people. So you get like a little reminiscing there. Then you get into this, this average Joe, he's just a complete random dude. His name is Ken. And, he actually gets into this little, just a complete coincidence. He goes into a little store. It's getting robbed. Spider-Man comes in and he completely saves Ken. Ken probably would have died had Spider-Man not saved him. So what this kind of explains, kind of going forward, Ken, has a child and he's trying to explain to the child, Spider-Man, who is Spider-Man, why is Spider-Man so important? And the way he starts explaining it is, Spider-Man has been around for years, so many years, and every day he's out there saving so many people. He's affected so many people along all these decades. So you could imagine, every single person, became, may have become like a greater person, may have gotten married, had other children. So there's so many people, in New York and on the face of the earth who really owe their lives to Spider-Man. And this, story kind of explains, why Spider-Man is so important to the world. And, really goes back to this little cover art as well, in my opinion. So yeah, I felt that Dan Slott really tied this one up, in a great way, man. So, really professional, peace out kind of way, in my opinion. So yeah, ASM number 801. Alright, next up, Infinity Countdown Champions. So some of those countdowns have been good, some have not. So this one, in my opinion, was pretty good. This is going to be a two-parter, and then we get into like the main Infinity War storyline that's about to happen. So this one was very good. They kind of go out in space. You have a little space adventure. You kind of see some, some of the extents of Nova's powers. One of the main villains here, I think, what is his name? Warmonger or Warbringer, who has had a couple tiffs with Nova here in the past. But a little bit of a spoiler here. Now, if you're going to be picking up that Infinity War going forward, I would say pick up this Champions number 1 and 2. Some are very skippable, but I would say pick up number 1 and 2 just mainly because Thanos. Thanos is, of course, going to be part of the main storyline. I think this is actually the first time that he's actually shown in any of the countdowns, that I could recall. So yeah, I would suggest for you to pick up number 1 and 2. This was a pretty good one-off space storyline in and of itself. Alright, so another Infinity Countdown. This is Black Widow. So talking about some that are skippable, I would say this one is a hard pass. This one really does not lend anything to like the overall storyline in my opinion. But I mean, this is just valueless in my opinion for the overall storyline. So again, some of these storylines, tie in and lend itself to additional value to the overall storyline. Some do not. This one does not. So yeah, I would say skip this one if you're a true Black Widow fan. Go ahead and pick it up. But for the overall Infinity storyline, no. Okay, so yet another example, so Hunt for Wolverine. Some of these storylines have been good, some have not. Claws of a Killer, I would say in my opinion this was skippable. So this is like completely off track. This is like it became a zombie storyline. Somehow, some way in that last issue, zombies got involved. No real explanation yet, but this kind of really feels like more like a Weapon X type of storyline, with Sabretooth and Lady Deathstrike. So again, there's like really no Logan going on. They're not really hunting him down. I don't even remember what happened in number 1, but it really became a zombie storyline. So, another pass if you're a Wolverine fan. This doesn't really lend itself to the Wolverine side of things, but if you enjoy the current Weapon X storyline, with Sabretooth as the leader of the team, yeah, check this one out. Alright, we're going to move on to Image. So starting off with Image, we have Shanghai Red. So this was a title that I saw in previews, and just reading through the solicit, I subscribed to this one like right away. So if you watch my previous videos, I really love stories of revenge, and this one had like revenge all over it. So this one, more of a historical piece. They actually go back, and this actually happened all around the world. So people would get shanghaied from like certain areas, a lot of port type of towns, get either drunk, get knocked out, and thrown onto a ship, and they were used as slaves, either for that ship or they're sold off as slaves like somewhere else. So it happened, all over the world. This one kind of tells account of this woman who was shanghaied. She was actually on this, she was shanghaied by certain people, she was sold, and she was working on this boat for 2 years. At the end of 2 years, her contract was up. She had worked for her freedom at that point in time. She went to, there's about, I think maybe like 5 of them who were going to be released. And, they had an option of just getting like, kind of like stranded, like in this little port town, like, hey, we're just going to drop you off, or you could continue to work on the ship. Man, she kind of, she went and she used another option where she basically talked the other slaves into mutiny, and they killed off all the soldiers, all the sailors who were on this boat. Great storyline. What you have at the very end is she is going to try to find the people who actually shanghaied her originally. So yeah, man, great storyline. So the artwork alone, I would give this artwork only like a 2 out of 5 in my opinion, but the storyline, man, maybe like a 4.5 out of 5 so far. So really, the story of revenge is, something I really love, especially if it's intricately layered. Love that stuff. So yeah, Shanghai Red, number 1. I am going to continue on. Alright, next up from Image, The Beef. So this is number 5, and I actually think this concludes this little mini-series that they were actually doing here. So, this had the bubblegum artwork, which is, a little off-putting at first, but the storyline, the humor that was here, I thought was hilarious. Overall, you have this guy who became a superhero through the chemicals that are in cows, which he's been eating the whole time, but he got like extra doses of it. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. It came out to this little final fight. I won't give away who won, but man, it looked pretty bad for Beef the hero. But yeah, pretty cool stuff. I would check this out in trade if you're looking for superhero comedy. Alright, next up, Crude. So this was like an Russian spy, back in the 80s. Retired, something happened, you know, his son was killed, and he's actually out for revenge. So yet another revenge type of storyline that I love. Love this artwork that goes along with this title here. But yeah, man, tons of, a little risque there, sorry about that. But yeah, tons of action here that actually happens. Man, a lot of good fighting. So yeah, if you're into that type of, like, you know, like mafia feel, type of revenge, type of storylines, check this one out, Crude. Okay, next up, Curse Words. So Charles Soule, man, love this guy, great writer. So this has, you know, whimsical type of artwork, some humor here and there, but pretty good storyline overall. A lot of good fantasy, magic type of, you know, action that kind of happens here. Really enjoy it. So you know, I enjoy how they, so they lose their power. They have to kind of recharge their power, and apparently each character has like a different way of how they recharge their power. You know, one of them is really by faith, and the other one is kind of a little bit more like despair. So hilarious how Ruby Stitch kind of like rejuvenates her power here on Earth. So love the storyline. Margaret, the little animal that kind of changes form from time to time. A little bit of a reveal of who her parents are. Really enjoy that one. So yeah, Curse Words. Alright, next up again from Image we have Infidel. So I love horror. So this one was pretty good. So most of y'all know this one's been optioned for some sort of movie, some sort of green light kind of happened here, or the rights have been sold. I think, let me clarify that. I think the rights have been sold for this one so far. But yeah, I could really see this one, you know, being a movie for sure. Great storyline, great artwork to kind of go along with this one. And I think there's like a 2-page splash that I thought was, yeah, here we go. I'll kind of leave it here, but man, great artwork to go along with this horror. You know, what you have here, they kind of explain it here to where in the past, you know, they don't, I forgot like how long ago, but in this building, they actually released like a portal to this dark realm. And from this portal, you started releasing all these, you know, evil spirits into the world, into New York City specifically. So apparently this became like a tall tale around the area and became, you know, from this one issue, I don't know how true it was, but they're saying that this actually became the storyline for the movie Ghostbusters, which I thought was pretty funny, like a little bit of a, you know, pop culture kind of thrown into this little horror. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But yeah, if you're into horror, I would say check this one out, Infidel. Alright, next up, another horror type of ish, you know, more monster. This is about werewolves. Brian Azzarello, man, love that that writer, especially on the monster type of storylines. So yeah, actually in this one issue, this is one of those issues that there was like tons of werewolf action here that was going on. Just tons of killing, man, which I just loved. So yeah, pretty cool action, you know, timepiece, you know, time period story for sure. I think back in the 20s. When Prohibition was going on. But yeah, if you enjoy the werewolf side of things, check this one out, Moonshine. Okay, yet another horror, and this is another good one that I highly suggest. So yeah, Gideon Falls by Jeff Lemire. So this is all about this black barn. So this black barn, you know, it's apparently pure evil, and they actually started tracing this black barn back to, what was it, like 1794. So going all the way back, it's originally documented back in 1794. People would see it, you know, pilgrims would see it. It would just kind of like come out like thin air. And after that, you know, people would just start dying for like no reason. People would start getting murdered, or they just start dying. So this whole thing is trying to piece together, like, what is this black barn? So a couple people actually see it, other people just dream about it, and there's no explanation yet whatsoever. And this is like one of those things that's just so intriguing, you know, you have to keep on reading the storyline to figure out what the heck is this damn barn, you know, how did it come to be, why is it so evil? But yes, again, love the artwork to this one. If you're into horror, I highly suggest to pick up this one title, Gideon Falls. Okay, one from Aftershock, The Lost City Explorers. So again, read this one in previews. The solicits, you know, sounded pretty good, so I subscribed to this one up front. Didn't really know what was going on, but it seemed like a, you know, kind of like a Goonies thing in a sense at the very beginning. Definitely not. This is more of like a little sci-fi type of storyline so far. So you have Great artwork, by the way. What you have here is Manhattan City, and what they're claiming, there's a corporation that's involved. I think they've dumped in like tons of money in research, and what they found, kind of like they found a portal. And what you find out is this portal actually goes to the lost city of Atlantis. So this entire title is kind of like Stargate, you know, in a sense. So you have one of the main characters, her father, who was a scientist. He was actually sucked into that into the other portal. So this is kind of like a rescue mission between his lover, who's also a scientist, and his daughter. And I guess she's going to get her friends together, and they're going to be the little group to go save her father. So yeah, pretty intriguing. I'm definitely going to be continuing on my subscription and read that number 2. All right, last up from Dark Horse, we have Ether. So this is a second title they came out with, The Copper Golems. Really enjoy this one. So again, a lot of whimsical type of artwork, but a little bit of a darker, more adult storyline. And what I found interesting in this one issue here, they kind of explained that Ether is actually a culmination of humans on the real world, dreaming, imagining, storytelling. So it's kind of like Imagination Land from South Park. I started thinking about that. But yeah, again, a lot of good action and a lot of good humor along the way in this one title. But again, very adult oriented still, in my opinion. But yeah, if you're into that, check it out. Ether, The Copper Golems. So guys, that's going to be it for this week's brand new haul. Should you enjoy what you see here, please like and subscribe. We'll talk to you later.